Hi, I'm Dustin Mason from Performance Lexus in St. Catharines. And today, we're gonna answer the question, which car is better for you? The Lexus IS or the Lexus ES? But before we get into the video, make sure you hit subscribe and like and go back and watch any of the other Lexus content we've done in the past because there is some pretty good stuff there. Okay, so let's just get right into it. So the blue vehicle to my right is the Lexus IS 300 in the luxury package. On that front grille, we have it's sort of similar to the Lexus spindle grille on some of the sport models, but honeycomb design trimmed off with some really nice chrome pieces. And you'll notice as we move to the headlight that the daytime running light is on top of the headlight. It is really sharp. Not all Lexus models have it on the top, but it does look pretty cool. And this one has the single LED light bulb. Now, we do have a headlight washer, which is super important to me living in Canada where there's salt and everything else on the road. So it's nice to be able to wash off those headlights once in a while. And sort of as that flows down to the bottom of the bumper, we do have a little bit of venting on the sides, but since it's not the sport model, it's mostly just rounded off an actual big solid body panel, which looks pretty nice. I think it's a classy front end for a car that's already kind of sporty. So even though this isn't the sport model, it still is kind of sporty. So there's that. Now over to the ES. This particular ES is the F Sport design. This is a brand new package in the ES configuration and I absolutely love it, and you'll see why. So we have a big spindle grille on this. This is an F Sport spindle grille. So you can see it does look a little bit more aggressive. There's a lot more of those little hatchings going on, and that's also trimmed off by a smoked out chrome piece, which is really sharp. I just love how dark chrome and smoked out chrome looks. I think it's sporty and modern, so super happy to see that there. And on that grille, we do have hidden some parking sensors that you can't really see because they are black, and Lexus did a good job of hiding those. And the headlights have the daytime running light underneath. So now we see it underneath the headlight. This one still also has the single LED filament. The higher packages give you the triple beam, the adaptive and all that stuff, but still looks pretty sharp there. And then underneath that, we have some more F Sport grillage happening on those corners. Not a whole lot of active venting there, but still looks pretty sharp. And it makes that front end look quite big. So when you compare it to the IS, it looks a lot wider because it is. And it does just have a little bit more presence than the smaller, sportier front end of that IS. Now, in terms of power plants, we have a 3.5 liter V6. On this one, it's the older V6 design. So I think it's around 260, 270 horsepower all-wheel drive. And on the ES, we have just over 300 horsepower to an 8-speed transmission, front-wheel drive. And they do handle very differently in that sense, but I'll get to that later. So looking at the side profile of the ES 350, we have a little bit more rounded body lines, and it is a much bigger vehicle than the IS per se. So there is a little bit more, what's the word? Landscape, I guess you could say, to have that roofline taper off to the bottom. So it's not quite as an aggressive angle, but still looks really good. The side body lines are a little more rounded, a little less jagged and sharp, but definitely suits that mid-size sedan type look. And in the F Sport design package, we have a fully gloss blacked out rim, as well as, body matched door handles, but the tops of the mirrors are blacked out as well. Over to the IS, the fact that it's more of a sporty, smaller sedan, we have more sharp edges. So even, looking down the side here, I see a little bit more jagged lines and a little bit extra angles. And then even the roof line and the silhouette of that starts off tall and then more rapidly goes down. And even you'll notice on that back door with the chrome trim is actually stayed on the door. It doesn't overlap onto that rear quarter panel, which the quarter panel, by the way, has an absolutely huge curvature to it and looks beautiful. Over to the back though, this is where things get changed up a little bit. So the back of the IS to me has always been super beautiful. So we have sort of more of a shelved off top end of the trunk, and then it really goes down like a cliff, but the taillights is where it's at. So the taillights on the IS have that design that sort of go from one side all the way to the other without breaking stride. And from far away, it looks super sharp, like a katana sword or whatever samurais used to use in Japanese culture. Really nice homage to that, really sharp, and even in the middle, it gets super, super thin, but still is there. Now, the trunk space on the IS is usable. It is usable. I would say you could fit one golf bag and maybe a fold-up cart if you're lucky. It is wide enough at the opening of the boot there, but as it gets kind of into behind those back seats, it is a little bit more narrow. But those back seats do fold down 60-40, and not every sedan in this class does that. So if you were gonna bring two golf bags, you can just fold down those seats and stick them right into the back of that. Now, over to the back of the ES. So looking at the ES, the taillight design and the rear design, all of it, is super different from the IS, obviously. So we have more of a sloped off, top of the trunk down to, the drop off, not quite as aggressive shelf design as in that IS. We do have smoked out chrome on the back of this ES as well, and a really nice diffuser at the bottom in that piano black / metallic gray configuration with the exhaust integrated into that as well. So that looks super, super sharp. The taillights. The taillights more remind me of the GS 350 or, the LS 500 and 460, where there's a little bit more layers to it. So, we have a few different layers here. Actually, the LC 500 would have this happen, but more in like that hologram mirror image. But still super, super sharp, gives it a different presence, and also makes the vehicle look a little bit wider because of the fact that they're not conjoined. This one has the F-Sport spoiler because it's the design, and you'll see a whole lot of accessories in here right now. But the trunk is absolutely massive, especially compared to the IS. I would say it's wider, it stays wider for longer as you look into it. You could definitely put two golf bags back here, but the seats don't fold down. The back seats don't fold down. There is a pass-through for your skis. That's usually all it's really good for. But the reason a lot of brands do that, or a lot of cars do that, is I've heard, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but it does help with road noise. So having that trunk fully sectioned off instead of more of a doorway opening, to back there, does create a little bit quieter ride versus, otherwise. So sitting in the ES 350 in the F-Sport design package, there is a lot going on here that I want to talk about. But first, before I do any of that, I'm going to do one of the most satisfying things in any purchase of anything, and in cars usually it's already taken off, but when you buy a brand new TV and you take off that plastic, I have the opportunity, one of the perks of working at a dealership, of taking this off. There is not a lot of things in life that feel as good as that, let me tell you. Anyway, okay, in the interior, we have the light brown Palomino leather upholstery here right now. Also, all the accents in this package are really interesting because it's like a brushed aluminum, but it's black. Like it's like a dark brushed aluminum, which to me, it's kind of like a young person's car. I don't know if that's what they're trying to do with the ES, but I really like that. I think it's cool. Also, we have the armrest that opens both ways, which is becoming quite normal in Lexus vehicles, but I love it. Also, we have a wireless charger right here, and Lexus did a good job of future-proofing that because they don't have a lot of walls around it, I guess you could say. And the reason I mention that is cars, 5-6 years ago when they started to come out with wireless chargers or phone holders for that matter, they realized that phones kept getting bigger and then the phone holders were out of date by the time they already got out because the phones got so big. This one, I feel like even if phones got bigger or smaller, it would still work. Although I don't know how well it would be if you're doing some cornering and having your phone slide around. We do have some spacing up in the front of the cup holders as well, which I would assume is for your phone, because there used to be a phone holder there on previous model ESs. And below that, there's a little trap door that I didn't notice until right this second. And it's a way to hide. It's a way to hide the USB-C as well as the regular USB. And actually, when you open it, it kind of goes down into itself. And then when you close it, it actually comes right back up flush. So nice touch there, Lexus. I think it looks great. Above that, we have our heated and cooled seats. We have our climate control, this massive screen that pretty much comes standard in all of the ES packages, except for maybe one, but massive, really HD. We don't have any controller. It's just touchscreen now, which is great. That's what everybody wanted. We have some other trim pieces happening where it's a little bit of brown wood on, the upper door panel, as well as the dash and steering wheel. But one thing that they kept that I love is the real aluminum piece here on the door, which is right above the floating door handle. So overall, really big design. I feel very spacious in here. I will mention that the headliner is also the brown, which that's something I can't stop looking at now that I noticed it, but I'm sure with other interior colors, it's probably the gray or black. But overall, very luxurious, very big interior, super comfy. Sitting in the back seat of the ES, I have a ton of room back here. It's like sitting on a big couch. And actually, when this car got redesigned back in 2019 or 2018, they said that there's more space in this now than there is in the current model LS 500, which is a big deal. I think it was like legroom or something like that. But I have a ton of headroom, I have a ton of legroom. The seat is super comfortable. They didn't take any shortcuts for the rear seat passenger. We have a couple of USB-Cs here, a 12-volt outlet. Also, this massive armrest that can come down with two cup holders, and it feels substantial. It's solid, it's really big. We have a pass-through there, and I think I could sit back here with two other people, no problem, and be comfortable for like a longer journey, which is saying a lot. Sitting in the front seat of the IS now, and it's a whole different vibe. Right away, there is a lot more dark colors, and even on the IS, since most people buy them for the sporty design, we see more reds and blacks interiors, but there definitely is, a few other lighter colors, but the accents and everything is more, gloss black, a lot less textured materials, but, everything's a little bit closer to you, and a lot of people like that. They like not having this massive area in front of them. They like to be hugged, they like to have everything close by, and that's what this IS does. We have the Lexus touchpad here, still to remote, and also touch screen, so it does give you both of those worlds. The armrest opens this way, so I guess you could access it from the passenger seat, but it is a smaller console in general, and like I said, everything's just a little bit closer to that driver, but some nice still aluminum, a little bit of dark grays, things like that. In the sport model, we have things like the LFA TFT display and a climate control that works a little bit differently, but the clock in the IS is gorgeous. It's super modern. It reminds me of like a high-end modern watch with some carbon fiber, with a nice Lexus logo backlit, and I think they did a great job on that. But overall, it just feels really sporty in here. The backseat of the IS is another different vibe as well. It is a lot more cramped back here because don't forget, this car is supposed to be kind of a coupe with 4 doors. And that's exactly what it feels like. I'm 6'1", I can fit back here. My head's touching a little bit, my knees are touching a little bit. I definitely wouldn't want 3 people back here because there is a little bit of a hump in the center for that center passenger. But another person back here, we could definitely go out to a restaurant, go for a drive. And sitting in here, it actually helps me notice how much smaller the seats are. So the ES has a much bigger, substantial seat material and frame to it. These ones are a little bit sportier and smaller. We do have a little armrest here with a little fold-out cup holder that I always struggle with, but it is there, so you can use it. And again, it's not pretending to be a big luxury sedan because it's not, but the back seat is usable. So how do they drive? Well, the IS has done a great job of keeping that low center gravity, all-wheel drive, feel like you're on rails when you're cornering, makes commuting to work an absolute blast. Being able to weave around nice corners at maybe the sacrifice of fuel economy, because this all-wheel drive system with this V6 isn't the best on fuel. It's still okay, it takes premium gas. And the ES has a little bit more of that soft, cushiony, quiet ride. Still enough power that in a straight line, you could step on it and go. Takes regular gas, so a little bit better on gas as well, the fact that it's front wheel drive. So the answer to the question, which one is right for you? Well, I would say if you want something that's all-wheel drive, sporty. You don't care if you need anything in the back seat very often, maybe just a couple friends once in a while. The IS is an absolute pleasure to drive, and that could be the car for you. However, if you favor fuel economy, you want a little bit more horsepower, but you don't care about the handling as much, or you don't care about the all-wheel drive, or if you do want to have some space for people in your back seat, then the ES is the one for you. So thank you for watching this video. Remember, we are a real dealership here in St. Catharines and part of the Performance Auto Group. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, and leave a comment. I always try to get back to everybody in the comment section. So thank you for watching.